Now joined by James Burnip, punter from Alabama. James, appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Of course, it's good to be here.
Awesome. Well, James, man, there's a number of things we can kind of go down here, but let's just talk about your pathway to football, right? Like you're an Aussie punter, and that's all. I feel like that's a great like SEO value. I think your interview here is going to blow up just based on that. But we're starting to see that become a trend, and it's becoming more and more common within the NFL. So, do you mind talking a little bit about your background and how you got to playing football and ultimately at Alabama and starting in 21?
Yeah, of course. So I grew up. I played Aussie rules football my whole life, which is a bit different from American football and a lot different from rugby. So you grow up, you're kicking the football the whole time, passing to each other. You go outside, you kick the football with your dad, you don't throw it. It's a lot different compared to over here. So doing that taught me how to really like control myself, control my steps, and how I can kick the ball. And then when I hit about 18 years old, 17 years old, I decided to join Pro Kick Australia. It's a factory which really funnels Australian kids over to college.
Awesome.
So I joined that, and then after a couple of months there, I started to learn how to traditional spiral, how to do the rollout punts a little bit better, get that hang time up, and they started sending film over to colleges, and then originally committed to Ole Miss, and then flipped my commitment to Bama, so yeah.
Can you even talk a little bit about that decision to go ahead and flip your commit to Alabama?
Yeah, so I started university in Australia, so once you start university, no matter where you are in the world, your clock starts.
Yep.
So you get 5 years of eligibility, so I technically redshirted that year of doing that. But when Ole Miss offered, it was around COVID time, so their punter wanted to come back another year, so then I would have to wait another 6 months. So then I wasted that one whole year of eligibility there. So then when Alabama came and offered a scholarship for that July or June or whenever it was, I was like, yeah, why not? I got 4 seasons there and playing under Coach Saban, it's pretty cool. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's actually a perfect segue. You're reading my mind this morning. Yeah, and I mean, one, getting to play under Coach Saban, a couple of great defenses, and of course, I mean, just nationally one of the best teams across the country. How does that advantage play into your skill set in the special teams component of what you do? Having a great defense that, hey, if I pin these guys inside the 20, I'm doing a lot of service towards my team, or, hey, I might be setting up our offense for a short field. How does that play into your game?
Yeah, it's exciting. Like, ever since I got there, Coach Saban always harped on about field positions always winning games. So it's the little things in the sport. So you never really want to see the punter out there. You never want to see the kicker out there unless for extra points. But I mean, special teams are as big as a game as a quarterback throwing the ball. So if you don't have a good punter, you're not going to win a lot of games. So I think just being able to, for myself, being able to pin the opponent deep inside the 5, inside the 10, just sort of set up that opportunity to have a safety on defense, sort of things like that. And then at the end of the day, our offense is going to go out, and if we get a short field on offense, we're going to at least get 15 yards and get a field goal out of it. So at the end of the day, it's always points. So
leave it to a defensive-minded head coach to talk about field position. That is very Nick Saban for you. Well, even kind of on that note, and then the transition to Kalen DeBoer this year in Alabama, can you talk about how that played out for you, and then maybe like the leadership aspect of what it's like with it? And it's not a good thing, not a bad thing. It's just a change in the program and how that affects you.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. So obviously, when Coach Saban retired, everyone was shocked. No one knew in the room. So everyone's like, "You surely knew? You surely knew?" I was like, "No, I had no clue at all." So it was definitely an interesting phase, lots of decisions to make, whether to stay around, do whatever I wanted to do. So I'm glad I stayed around. I love Coach DeBoer. He came in, welcomed me with open arms, and he sort of had the same philosophy as Coach Saban when it came to like punting and stuff. Like, it's field position at the end of the day. Like, he's an offensive-minded coach, so if I can pin them back and then defense gets a 3 and out, like, we're going to get the ball with 60 yards to go at the max. Like, so that's sort of like how it was, and then having the new coaching staff come in, Coach Nunez came in, and he was great with me, helped me out a lot with technical aspect of punting, the little things that no one knows about. So it was cool to have that sort of coaching change and get sort of that 2 different levels of coaching as well.
Well, and kind of even hitting on that, what was the factor to stay at Alabama? Was that meeting with Coach DeBoer, or was there any other things that kind of played in that decision?
It was sort of just like once I committed to Alabama, like,
sure,
I committed for 4 years. Like, I didn't commit to go for 3 years and then think about my last year. So when I committed to Alabama, I was always committed to go to Alabama. So no matter what happened, I don't think I could have ever left. And then obviously that was probably the biggest thing, the factor to say I could leave right now. But all my friends were staying, my group was staying together, and I was like, I'm a senior. Why would I want to go build a whole new relationship with another coaching staff when I already know the whole entire facility at Alabama, and I got to learn new coaching stuff? So like, it was things like that, like little factors like that. I talked to my parents a lot, talked to former kicker Will at Bama a lot. So we all got it sorted out, and I was excited to get underway and get into the new coaching staff and get stuck into it. So
Well, that's awesome to hear. And now transition towards the Senior Bowl. What goes into the decision to then want to come here to Mobile and compete? And then, like, I don't want to sound ignorant. You know, O-line, D-line drills, wide receiver corners, those are the clips that you see on social media that go viral, and everyone knows why they're here for the one-on-ones to boost their draft stock. And even like kickers, it's a showcase, and they'll get to kick in the game and things like that. What's in it for a punter?
It's just the whole, like, well, first of all, you only get 2 punters coming down here. So
Sure.
You might have, I don't know how many O-line there are, but 10, 15. So there's a lot more of them. So I'm not saying they're not all good. They're all great players. They're all elite players at their position. But being able to get a punter out of, I don't even know how many FBS teams there are, FCS teams as well, like, to get just 2 punters out of the whole country is pretty special to me. And like when I got this invite, it was a no-brainer for me to accept it and come down. I think I accepted it in like 30 seconds. So it was pretty cool. And then what I get out of it is just, it's the same as just like another game week. So I get to go to practice, but instead of go to practice, I'm punting in front of front office staff, like coaches, scouts, like all this.
Yeah.
So I'm getting evaluated with everything I do. So even if I'm not punting 38 reps a day or 50 reps a day, like if I get those 4 reps and they're good reps, that's what they're going to look at. At the end of the day in the game, the punter's not going to punt 25 times. I'm going to punt maybe 4 to 6 times. So
Sure.
I think that's a really good thing. And then being able to do like media stuff with all these things and people get to know your personality a little more. It's just, yeah, it's a great week.
Well, and I was telling you, you're the first Australian I've gotten to interview, so we appreciate this media interview.
Of course.
But also, I think there's a lot of value in the team interviews as well.
100%.
But that comes with a lot of time management and balance, and you guys have had a full plate, no doubt about it. So can you talk a little bit about this experience? It's certainly gratifying, and it's huge for your draft stock, but how that kind of opened your eyes to like, okay, I'm stepping into a professional world here. There's a lot of strings pulling at me.
Yeah, it's like, I think the closest I could get to this week is pretty much what I've done at Bama. Like, it's like sort of like a full camp, like week at Bama. You go in, you practice in the morning, you got meetings, you got a financial literacy meeting, you got all those sort of things. So it's kind of good to be able to, I got that experience at Bama, so then I'm coming in here, it's just like a normal week for me. Like,
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
which is cool, and I'm obviously getting a lot out of it, which is good as well. So, yeah, it's good to get the connections down here.
You were cracking me right before we started recording. You were talking about it's good to get back to a little bit of structure here. It's kind of nice for that. Well, that's awesome, and I really appreciate you carving out some time with us this morning. And I also really want to just highlight, it's interesting to hear Jalen Milroe at the press conference talk about, no, when I signed my letter of intent, I signed it with Alabama, and there was no way I was going to break that. So it's really cool to hear that that's just like a focal point of Bama, even with a coaching transfer there. So I wish you best of luck, and I'd love to know, how did day one go from your standpoint?
Oh, it was good. Definitely things to improve on. So we punted on a lot of balls, and I mean there was a couple that came outside of my ball, like the drop zone, and then a lot of them landed nicely, and I hit a nice few balls. So always got something to improve on, and today I'll go out and do something better. So.
And I know you're obviously focused on what you're doing, but any of your Alabama teammates catch your eye yesterday?
Oh, I didn't really have a look. I'm lucky that they're all on my team, so which is nice. But I saw Tim Smith doing some O-line, D-line drills, so it was going well. And then CJ was running the routes, and Milroe was zipping the ball around as he does. So they're all doing well, all competing, and it's good to see.
And ultimately, you focus on you. We'll let the scouts watch them and everything. You focus on you. Well, James, I appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.